The worst serve in the top 50. The best reason to watch. Berlin. June 15, 2026. Look at the entry list for the Berlin Open and you will understand immediately why a wild card here means something different than anywhere else. This is a WTA 500 event at the Rotweiss Tennis Club in Germany. It does not feel like a regular tournament. It feels like a gathering of royalty. 9 of the world's top 10 players have made the trip. Aryna Sabalenka is here. Elena Rybakina is here. Coco Gauff is here. Getting a main draw wild card into this field is not just an honor, it is an event in itself. These spots are traditionally reserved for local German heroes or former Grand Slam champions looking to rediscover their form on the grass. This year, the tournament gave that spot to Alex Eala. She is 21 years old. She is ranked 33rd in the world. And she carries into this tournament a statistical profile that should, by every conventional measure, make her presence here an impossibility. The number that should not exist. Tennis at its highest level is built on free points. On grass especially, where the ball skids low, rallies are short, and the surface rewards aggression above everything, your serve is not just a weapon. It is a survival tool. Pre-tournament analysis from Tennis 365 confirmed what had been quietly circulating in locker room conversations for months. Alex Eala ranks 95th on the entire WTA Tour in serve efficiency. Among the top 50 players in the world, her serve is mathematically the weakest. She does not blast unreturnable aces. She does not overpower opponents off the first ball. She does not get free points. So why did the Berlin Open give her that wild card? To answer that question, you have to go back much further than this week. You have to go back to where this story actually started. The map that had never been drawn. Tennis at the elite level is ruthlessly Darwinian. It rewards biology. It favors height. It favors natural power. It favors players shaped from childhood inside billion-dollar academy systems in Europe and North America. For a young player coming from Southeast Asia, the pathway to the top of the WTA Tour is not just difficult. It is a map that nobody had ever fully drawn before. When Eala first entered the professional arena, the gaps became obvious immediately. She could not rely on 130-mile-per-hour aces to bail her out of trouble. When you cannot end a point in 2 seconds with a single swing, you have to find another way to survive. She found it in the grind. She spent years on the ITF circuit, not the glamorous stadiums, not the packed main courts with cameras and crowds. The outer courts. The windy afternoons where nobody was watching. The brutal 3-hour wars of attrition against players who hit harder, served faster, and had every physical advantage she did not. She did not have the height. She did not have the free points. She only had the grind. But that grind forged something lethal. Because she could not dominate with power, she learned to predict. She started reading where the ball would go before her opponents had even finished their swing. She turned the absence of a dominant serve into a burning, relentless reason to master the hardest parts of the game instead. Every time she was pushed into a corner, she hit back deeper. She hit back harder. She hit back with a precision that slowly, quietly broke the spirit of the players across the net. She built a defensive wall so high that power hitters exhausted themselves trying to knock it down. But pure defense only gets you to the top 100. To break into the top 40, to earn the respect of the entire tour, you need something sharper. Something nobody sees coming. Birmingham. June 7, 2026. The weapon appears. Grass is the ultimate truth teller in professional tennis. It exposes weaknesses within minutes. The ball stays low. The rallies are short. Players who rely on defense and baseline endurance are supposed to suffer on this surface. The conventional wisdom is clear: if your serve is weak, grass will find you out. Last week in Birmingham, the conventional wisdom was wrong. June 7. The WTA 125 Birmingham Classic. Alex Eala standing on manicured English lawns facing Nicola Barčanová in the championship match. The venue has a long tradition of power tennis. Big serves. Quick decisive points. And early in the match, everything seems to be unfolding exactly as the skeptics predicted. Eala cannot generate free points on serve. She is working twice as hard for every rally. Barčanová is hitting through the court with ease, applying suffocating pressure. Eala drops the first set 5-7. Her back is against the wall. The momentum is gone. The crowd is waiting for the inevitable collapse. It does not come. Instead, something else happens. She changes the geometry of the court. She digs in. She holds on. She breaks back. She grinds her way to a 6-3 second set, refusing to surrender a single inch of the baseline. And then, in a nerve-shredding final act, she takes the decider 7-5. When she lifted that championship trophy in Birmingham, it was the first grass court title of her entire career. She had not just survived the fastest surface in tennis. She had mastered it, on her own terms, with her own tools, by her own rules. Which brings us directly back to Berlin. The opening round problem. The draw has not been kind. Donna Vekic is waiting across the net today, and she represents a completely different kind of threat to anything Eala faced in Birmingham. Vekic hits with terrifying flat pace. Her ground strokes cut through the grass like a blade. And her serve, unlike Eala's, is a massive, reliable weapon that can pull her out of trouble at any moment in a match. The pre-match betting markets and European tennis analysts are fiercely divided. The traditionalists look at this matchup and see a quick, clinical execution. They argue that Berlin's fast courts will violently expose Eala's serving deficiencies. They predict that Vekic will step inside the baseline, take the ball early, and overwhelm the 21-year-old before the rallies even have a chance to develop. The opposing camp sees something entirely different. They point to Auckland in January, where Eala already beat Vekic on hard courts. They know that Vekic's high-risk, low-margin style requires constant rhythm and an opponent who gives up quickly. Eala never gives up. Her court coverage is suffocating. She forces you to hit 3 perfect winners just to win a single point. For a player like Vekic, who thrives on quick aggressive exchanges, that relentless defensive wall acts like a slow-acting poison, drawing out errors as frustration builds with every extended rally. 2 philosophies. 1 court. And 1 invisible metric. The analysts predicting a quick Eala exit keep overlooking entirely. The return game nobody is talking about. On June 14, 2026, Tennis 365 released a comprehensive statistical breakdown of the current WTA Tour. The data confirmed what the numbers on the surface had been hiding. Eala ranks 95th in nearly every major serving category. Aces, first serve points won, service hold percentage. By all traditional metrics, a player with those numbers should be outside the top 100, fighting every week just to stay relevant. She is ranked 33rd in the world. How? The answer lives on the other side of the net. Eala has quietly built one of the most devastating return games of her entire generation. When she is receiving serve, she completely flips the dynamic of the match. She reads the server's ball toss with almost frightening accuracy. She anticipates the angle before the racket even makes contact. She absorbs explosive power and redirects it with pure precision, not for flashy winners, but for something more effective. She drops the ball deep, right at the server's feet, neutralizing the point in a fraction of a second and ripping away the server's natural advantage before they even know what happened. Suddenly, the player who expected an easy service game is dragged into a 15-shot rally. Eala turns the baseline into a physical interrogation. Side to side. Low balls. 1 more ball, and then 1 more after that, until legs burn and spirit breaks. She breaks serve so frequently and so ruthlessly that it cancels out everything her own serve cannot do. She has built a custom blueprint for winning tennis matches without the most important shot in the modern game. It is brain over brawn. Geometry over genetics. Grit over everything the system said she needed to have. The validation that came before Berlin in professional tennis, respect is not handed out in press conferences. It is earned in tournament decisions and locker room conversations between players who know exactly who is genuinely dangerous. That is exactly why the Berlin Open gave Eala the wild card. Not out of pity. Not for a feel-good story. Because a WTA 500 event needs disruptors, players whose tactical styles force the top seeds out of their comfort zones and elevate the competitive intensity of the entire draw. But the truest validation did not come from a tournament director. It came from Venus Williams. Days before Berlin, the Bad Homburg Open, scheduled for June 21st, released its official doubles entry list. Venus Williams, 7-time Grand Slam singles champion, 5-time Wimbledon winner, one of the most decorated players in the history of the sport, was returning to the grass courts. And she had personally chosen her doubles partner. She chose Eala. Let that settle for a moment. An American icon who fundamentally redefined power tennis looked at the entire landscape of the WTA Tour and selected a 21-year-old from the Philippines to stand beside her on the grass. This was not a PR decision. Not a sponsorship requirement. A calculated, strategic alliance by a veteran who knows precisely what it takes to win on this surface. Venus needed young, tireless legs covering the alleys. She needed a partner who could track down every impossible angle and reset the point. She needed someone with an elite return game to neutralize the opposing team before rallies could develop. She looked past the 95th ranked serve. She looked past the absence of overwhelming power. She saw the exact tactical discipline and mental fortitude required to thrive under the highest pressure the sport can produce. For a young woman who learned this game on cracked concrete courts half a world away, earning the partnership of a Williams sister is not just a compliment. It is a verdict. It proves that her defensive mastery is not a survival mechanism, it is a weapon the elite genuinely want beside them. She built her own ladder, rung by grueling rung. And now she is standing on the same floor as the giants. What happens next when Eala walks onto the Rotweiss Center court today? She is not sneaking in through the back door. She belongs exactly where she is. Vekic is waiting across the net, fully aware that she is about to face one of the most frustrating, relentless opponents on the entire tour. And if Eala survives this first round, the road gets steeper immediately. Rybakina looms in the next round. The draw was built to crush the weak and expose the unprepared. But Eala is not playing just for ranking points anymore. She is fighting for something that stretches far beyond the baseline. She is proving to an entire generation of athletes in non-traditional tennis nations that you do not need perfect genetics to reach the professional elite. You do not need the height. You do not need the booming serve. You need to be smarter, tougher, and utterly unwilling to break when the pressure is at its absolute peak. Her opponents will hit harder today. They will serve faster. They will bring more natural power to this court than she will ever possess. But her refusal to surrender a single inch of the grass remains the greatest equalizer in the sport. The worst serve in the top 50 got her to the table. Now we find out what she does with the feast.